Téléspectateurs, téléspectatrices, bon après-midi chez vous. Nous sommes mercredi, le 14 décembre 2022. Nous sommes là pour notre rubrique de la semaine, chronique de la semaine du professeur Moussa Issifou. Comme vous le voyez, notre titre est clair et il est en tout cas en phase avec l'actualité brûlante, l'actualité internationale. Comme vous le savez, des chefs d'État d'Afrique séjournent depuis avant-hier à Washington, D.C. Pour participer donc au sommet Afrique-États-Unis. Nous avons voulu faire notre analyse par rapport à ces sommets. Mais avant d'aller, c'est pas dans le vif du sujet, nous avons voulu adresser un message au président Joe Biden des États-Unis par rapport à certains invités. Et comme vous le voyez, l'affiche dit sommet États-Unis-Afrique, président Biden, certains de vos invités sont embarrassants. Et nous avons voulu, en tout cas, pointer du doigt certains de ces leaders-là qui ne devaient pas être invités à ce sommet. Et pourtant, ceux-là qui devaient être invités ont été laissés et ceux qui ne devaient pas être invités sont là. C'est la raison pour laquelle nous avons voulu faire une émission spéciale par rapport à ce sommet-là. Alors, avant de vous revenir, mes chers auditeurs, chers téléspectateurs, je vais d'abord envoyer un message au président américain, au président Joe Biden. Et, Mr. President, some of your guests are embarrassing. And I will try to elaborate on that. Mr. Malik, if you can show the faces of those embarrassing guests of Mr. Biden, that will be enough for me. This group of head of states is really something that shouldn't be invited to this summit. Mr. Biden, this group is like what we call a grave digger of democracy in Africa. These are the grave diggers of democracy in Africa. Therefore, they shouldn't have been invited to begin with. There's one, I think one of them is missing on this picture, baby Mohammed Deby, the son of the late Idris Deby. Mr. President, you know how Mr. Deby, Idris Deby, was assassinated. Until now, we try to really find out exactly what happened. We know that he was assassinated. But his son, who might have conspired with the assassins of his father, has accepted shamelessly to become president and succeed his father without asking for investigations. Again, you remember, 2 months ago, this very Mohammed Deby butchered over 200 citizens, Chadian citizens, because they were protesting his willingness to remain in power against his promise not to remain. Mr. President, Bongo of Gabon, after the rule of his dad for many, many years over the Gabonese people, captured the presidency, and he has shown no signs of leaving soon. Mr. Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire, against the Constitution is now serving a third illegal and illegitimate term. And then, Mr. Foreigner Singbe, we know the circumstances under which this president came to power. He came to power after a triple coup d'etat in one night. And then he also massacred 500 to 1,000 plus Togolese in order for him to impose himself against their will. So this is the CV, or these are the CVs of the presidents that you have invited, Mr. President. These four heads of states have a very, or have some very curious CVs. Therefore, they shouldn't have been invited to begin with, because they are going to tarnish, or I will say they are going to crash the summit, because they are the summit crashers. They are going to tarnish its image. The image of the summit that would have been somehow shining is now tarnished by the mere presence of these four usurpers, oppressors of their own people. All of these four have one thing in common. They are doing, or they are president simply because they have the military force to back them up and butcher their own people in order for them to remain in power. That's the only reason they are still sitting there. So that means they are technically usurpers. And for that reason, Mr. President, American taxpayers' money shouldn't have been used to invite them here, because it is like a mockery to the suffering and whatever mistreatment they have afflicted upon their own people. Mr. President, next time it is a no for anybody, anyone who is oppressing his own people. Mr. President, before I rest my case, each of these four heads of state has in his prisons political prisoners who are languishing for many, many years. And we have asked for their release, and nothing has been done. You go to Togo, you found them, you will find them. Côte d'Ivoire, you will find them. Gabon, you will find them. And in Chad, I think you will also find them. Each of these presidents has decided that they keep their prisoners, I will say they are hostages, forever in prison. Mr. President, ask them to go and release their political prisoners.